Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. We are here with you on a Friday. Probably wondering, oh man, where's everybody been most of this week? Yeah, that's true. A little bit of a slack job there. I'm trying to think what the last thing we did was. I guess maybe was it what day was the second? Monday or Tuesday? One of those days we had a handful of commitments to talk about, and here we sit on Friday. Got a handful more to get to. So we'll get ready to dive into those. Just the nature of this week, the last couple been a little off and on, so I appreciate everybody handling that for me. Also, Drew and DY obviously carrying on some load for me as I deal with the passing of my grandfather. So not the most fun time recently, but shout out to Grandpa Steve. He didn't go to K State, but spent a lot of money for K State, whether that be on his season basketball tickets, which, I mean, he saw a couple of good years in there, but he was watching some season tickets for some not good years recently for K State. Then, my mom, my uncle both went there, and a handful of my brothers and cousins, we ended up going to K State. So, not a fun time, but ready to move forward and get back to a daily routine on KSO with everybody. So, with not fun stuff out of the way and just making sure everybody knows I'm okay. I know some people were like, oh no, I hope that his kids are all right. My kids are fine, other than the fact that they're kind of psychopaths and you got to watch them at all times. You never know. Like, the child that did the battery for Chapstick, she's okay. She's got other problems, not real problems, just who knows what's wrong with her. She's a little different, but in a good way. We'll move on though. Different in a good way, Drew, would be the strategy for K-State basketball recruiting this offseason, where it seems like they have leaned a little bit more on guys that they think are going to mesh personality-wise a little bit better, and they're looking to go to different parts of not just the U.S., but of the world that may have some talent that is untapped for them. And they've done that once again with the addition of Elias Rapiak, who they've gone and gotten from Alba Berlin most recently, but the German forward has played a good amount of professional basketball in his career, but he is allegedly going to have 2 years of eligibility left. I have no idea how that works. I just know the number that is out there. I know that K-State would not be bringing in international guys, fighting to get them from overseas if they're just like, he might be able to play, but we don't really know how this is going to work out. He'll definitely be able to play, and I definitely think he's going to help make K-State a better basketball team this coming season.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea how eligibility for the international prospects works either. Like it kind of seems like a crapshoot anytime eligibility is involved anymore. It's like knowing that there's 2 years left makes it a little bit more enticing because it means that K State thinks that he is going to be able to contribute right away, and I think that that's kind of what the vibe around him is. The one thing that really stands out to me when I watch Elias Rapiak more and more, he is such a good passer. He sees the floor really well for his size, can do a little bit of everything. He, him and Andre Kostic aren't like super dissimilar in how they play, just with Rapiak being a little bit older. And I think Kostic might be like a touch more athletic. But those two guys play the game pretty similarly, which is just kind of how international basketball works nowadays. It does make for an interesting case of what does a starting five look like with the roster that K State has assembled, because there's a lot of guys that are around like that 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" range that all kind of do the same things. So I'm interested to see like what a rotation looks like. But the roster as a whole, I don't think it's crazy to say that the roster is healthier today going into this next season than it was going into this past season.
Yeah, I think you look at it, and this is an undersized team currently, but maybe the roles are a little bit more defined in terms of, okay, we kind of know what this guy is going to do positionally. And I just, so much of what we talked about last year and where things needed to be fixed was the stuff that was important in recruiting players 10, 15 years ago. All of that is still important in recruiting. Now you just have to make it important. But to land those guys, you also have to have the funding to do it as well. Not necessarily apples to apples, but I would like to point out, like, for some reason, because they've been going on the last two nights, Women's College World Series, Texas fans have been so up in arms about what Texas Tech has done to be, on a level playing field with them. And they just tons of complaining nonstop. Oh, NIL. Oh, they keep talking about Kennedy. Well, it's because she's kicking everybody's ass. Like, that's why they're talking about her, because she's awesome. She's the best player in it. It's just like, look, I was sick of seeing him beat the lights out of the Royals, but when people get on Joe Buck's case for gushing over Madison Bumgarner, you know what? He should have, because he was absolutely phenomenal in the 2014 World Series. When the best player is playing like the best player, then they're going to get talked about a lot. They are the most important person there. There's a reason why everybody's around the NBA is gushing about Tyrese Halliburton right now. It's because there's something about him that is making him incredible during these NBA playoffs and all that, whatever. It's the same type of thing with this, where like Texas Tech fans are trying to be like, well, she didn't come to Texas Tech because of the NIL. Well, yeah, she did, but that doesn't change any of the ways that she feels about once she's there. That doesn't mean that she can't still like Texas Tech and she can't still do all this. Like, you use the NIL as a way to lock down her coming to play for you, but she still had to like your coaches enough. She still had to like Lubbock and Texas Tech enough, because there would be a lot of money out there for her. I'm sure that there would have been somewhere else that would have been somewhat similar that she goes, I don't really like Lubbock, Texas. I don't like Texas Tech. I don't like all this. She could have gone elsewhere. That's where, for, like you look at K-State here, yeah, you still have to play the NIL game, but your hope would be is that the guys that you're playing it with this year are guys that align a little bit better with what you think it's to be. And Jerome Tang admittedly learned that lesson last year. I mean, he said that he coached differently because of the NIL thing, which kind of surprised me coming from him. I would have thought that he would have been a guy that would not have impacted him, but you can understand why it would in this era. And so I think they've done a good job, this coaching staff, of getting back to, okay, everything that was important when we first started coaching in college basketball, it still matters. We just need to find those guys and then say, here, we also have a lot of money in college basketball that we can give you to come be a part of our team. And that's why I think the roster as a whole has probably been built a little better.
No, I'm right there with you. Like this roster feels a lot more complete outside of a center, and that's just more of like you need a third person that will be able to play. But I'm right there with you. With the roster feels a lot more complete. It feels like they're getting more guys that really want to be at K-State, really want to thrive. And the thing that I was gonna add in when you were talking about last year was like, it's hard for it to be worse than it was last year from like
True.
a buy-in standpoint. I mean, 2 weeks before the season, we're getting Coleman Hawkins and Doug
Your
McDaniel,
two best players.
your two best players that were supposed to be your two best players at least, because
Yeah, true.
Dylan
Yeah.
Hassan ended up being the best player. But the guys that you thought were going to be two of your best players complaining on a podcast about conditioning and Shark Week. I don't think that you're going to get that with this team. I think that this team is going to be very focused and ready to go. And I think that a lot of that starts with like getting guys like Kamari McGriff, who won a leadership award. Nate Johnson, you don't win defensive player of the year in any conference if you aren't totally bought in all the time. PJ Haggerty is somebody that has been bought in everywhere he's gone and has done really well everywhere he's gone. So I don't think they're going to get buy-in issues from him. And then you kept guys that didn't complain last year. So I think that you're going to see a more bought in and more toughness and competitiveness from this K-State team than you did last year.
And I think you look at the guys, like the guys that stuck around very easily could have left probably and thought, my role's not going to change much here. But David Castillo, Moby Ike, those are guys that they stayed. And you're right. Like, you got guys that this season are not what could be classified as the you're lucky to have me type of players. So like Coleman Hawkins coming from Illinois, Big Ten school, one of the best in the Big Ten, had won a conference title there, took them to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament the year prior, was a big part of that. He's a you're lucky to have me type of guy where no. I'm not lucky to be here and have this opportunity. You're lucky that I chose to come play for you. and accept your money. Doug McDaniel, same type of thing, where it's coming from Michigan, so you're coming to lateral type move. You're going from a Big 10 to a Big 12 school. He thinks that, hey, I'm going to be kind of the main show here as the point guard and everything. You look at all these other guys, and we've talked about it. Like obviously the two internationals, Rapiak and Kostic, dudes that are looking for an opportunity in the U.S. to try and put themselves on a bigger stage. Because Rapiak, for example, if people want to get into it and discuss it, like his numbers don't look overly impressive in the Euro League, where he appeared in close to 30 games this season. But he's a younger guy playing on, we talked about it a while back in the first Rapiak commitment video we did that was unusable after a couple of months of waiting. But he's playing with dudes that, like, actual guys that played in the Big 12 10 years ago. Like, he is
Matt
playing.
Thomas is one of his teammates.
Yeah. Who else? He had one of the former KU guys.
And David McCormick is one of his teammates. Like, so, he's playing with guys that are much, much older than him and have already been there, done that in college.
Can you imagine that first Rapiak McCormick text now that Rapiak's committed to K-State, asking about the stool that he picked up? But like, I don't think you look at those as much, and you can go and compare some of his more age-specific stats, ones that would align more with who he is. You can start to see it. You can see it in just the way that he plays, but like, he and Kostic are guys that are coming over here that they want to raise their profile, because in the current circumstance, Elias Rapiak continuing on the trajectory that he was playing for Alba Berlin, he's not going to be on NBA radars. He's not going to improve his standing in the basketball ranks, but he's hoping that if he comes to K-State and he can come be a strong player in college basketball in the U.S., then that's something that could happen. Same type of thing for Kostic. Then you can keep looking at this roster and you can find different ways, where you talked about PJ Haggerty. That's one where you look at it and you start to think, oh, well, All-American, did all this at Memphis. We know that Mason's scared of Memphis players. That is a fact. I do get scared about Memphis. Not the town, although maybe I should be. Probably not. I've never been worried when I went there. But I am worried about Penny Hardaway. I am worried about the type of players that he attracts. But Haggerty's just a dude that has looked for an opportunity to make himself better in his career. He started at TCU. Didn't play a ton there, got his red shirt, transfers to Tulsa, who sucks, and does phenomenal there. Has the opportunity to get into a better spot, goes to Memphis, awesome. And then, now he's looking to prove himself consistently in a Power 4 league, Power 5 league in basketball. He's not been able to do that at Memphis because the AAC is even far weaker than what it was a couple of years ago. So, like, that's another guy. And all these dudes, you laid it out well, Drew, and I'm just putting a category to it, but I call them they are the opposite of the lucky to have me guys, because that's what you need on a lot of your teams. If you're made up of a lot of, hey, you're lucky that I came to play for you, that doesn't really work out very well in college sports. And it really doesn't work out at the professional level. I mean, you see what Aaron Rodgers did the last couple of years of his NFL career. And I'm sure it's going to go the exact same way in Pittsburgh. Like, he is a you're lucky to have me type of guy. And you have to say, are we really fortunate to have a guy that's past 40, might be washed, has a bad attitude, is a total weirdo? I don't think so. K-State, fortunately, no 40-year-old dudes or total weirdos on this team. Although Elias Rapiak, all that professional experience, and a bunch of 5th, 6th, 7th year seniors on the team, maybe they are close to 40.
No, he is 21 already. That is crazy to think about, that he's coming in as a 21-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think this is a better construction. You have players that the peak of what they could reach is pretty significant, and it seems a lot more likely that they could do it, where, in hindsight, like the Coleman Hawkins thing, it was banking on a guy making a jump that he hadn't done in 4 years. And I thought that he could do it just because he didn't need to be the featured player at Illinois. But it's obviously clear that the reason why Illinois didn't fight to keep him and why he was never that player at Illinois is because he just wasn't capable of being that player. And K-State, Jerome Tang, even Coleman Hawkins to some extent, they had to unfortunately eat that last season that he wasn't that type of player. And Doug McDaniel, there's just obviously stuff that's going to hold him back from ever getting to really fully unlocking what his talent and potential is. So that's the state of the K-State basketball roster right now with the addition of Elias Rapiak. Let's shift gears. Let's go to the football side of things. And when we do that, we remind everybody that the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic is coming up. You can visit cats2ireland.com for travel and ticket info. Get all of your hospitality packages, figure out how you're getting over to Ireland, how you're experiencing it, and then get to the game. Maybe you say, hey, maybe I can get a nice seat in Ireland. Maybe. Best way to figure all that out, cats2ireland.com, August 23rd, 2025. So we keep getting closer and closer. I think we were about a month out exactly from Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. So that's exciting to look forward to that. We'll get to hear from Chris Kleiman for the first time and also kind of get a look at a handful of the players that will be down there. I'm sure Avery Johnson will be one. It'd kind of be interesting to see who the rest of the party involved is down there. Do we think Dylan Edwards makes an appearance or Jace Brown this year? They seem to like to take an offensive lineman most years.
Yeah, if I was to take a guess, we'll come back to this when we get to the star, and I'll see how correct we are here. I'll say Avery for sure. Then I'm gonna go George Fitzpatrick because
Oh,
they love an offensive lineman that goes to media days. Then I'll go Austin Romaine, and then VJ Payne.
okay. All right. Yeah. I think I'll go Avery, Jace Brown, and then you're right on the defensive guys. I don't think you're going to be wrong on defense, unless just because of age they would elect to take Des Purnell. But I think that would be silly.
There's so much Romaine buzz right now that
Yeah,
I'd be kind of shocked if it wasn't Romaine.
yeah. All right, let's move back to talking about commitments and flip to the football side. Miles Teodecki is the quarterback of the class of 2026 out of Austin, Texas. And he is, well, you look at what K-State's done recently. We talked going into that weekend, okay, what's it going to look like? How many commitments are going to roll in? And here K-State had 3 we just recently talked about. Now they've got another. So they've expanded this class pretty rapidly recently, and they got the position that you have to take one of every cycle. They got their quarterback. It took them a little bit longer. They went through a bunch of different names, but what is it about Miles Teodecki that they like?
I think that the first thing they really like is his accuracy. I pointed this out. I wrote a 5 things kind of just talking about Tedeki and his recruitment, and then a little bit of an evaluation. Can I get out in front of it early again? Yes, he is a lefty. That is a little strange. I couldn't even tell you the last quarterback at K State that took a snap that was left-handed. Yes, he does throw the ball a little funky. It kind of comes out like he's throwing a baseball a little bit. But he's also really accurate and has a really good arm and has a really good and quick release and processes the information while it gets the ball out right away. And I think those are all kind of things that really attracted K-State to Miles Teodecki. Because if you really watch what K-State, I think, is going to do at the quarterback position under Matt Wells' tutelage, it's going to be a lot of, okay, let's just get the ball out, get out quick, get out accurately, get the ball in space to our playmakers, and let's go. So, and he really fits that bill. Again, I know a lot of people are going to be scared that he's left-handed, but I think that that's kind of how it goes with him because he is that prototypical. I'm going to get the ball and throw it out in 2 or 3 seconds. I think the interesting thing about Teodecki too is his recruitment wasn't exactly like a who's who of recruiting. We had a lot of Ivy League offers. Cincinnati offered him in February. He took a visit to Cincinnati in April. But what's interesting is almost all of his offers came after his junior football season. So something has really clicked with other schools to really turn them on to him. And K-State really pushed to get Teodecki. I mean, they offered him, I think it was like May 27 or May 23rd or 24th, and he visited on the 29th. Like it was a very quick turnaround from offer to official visit to then commitment. So K State really, really, really liked him.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear, I think, that it doesn't seem like an ad that was just done out of necessity, which, I mean, you have to have one, and we know that K-State cycled through a handful of names in 2026, but I don't think that this is one that they're just like, "Gotta take a quarterback, let's add one." Almost like I feel bad doing this, but the example I would use would be like Jaron Lewis in year one under Chris Kleiman. Feels like, we got to get a quarterback. Who we're going to get? Well, let's just take the guy that he was going to come play for us at North Dakota State. You know, that doesn't seem like what this is to me. I mean, you're talking he was starting to pop up on other people's radars. It was kind of a late blooming recruitment for him, but I mean, you like him. You know, the ranking for him is solid given the circumstances. Um, eh,
And it will get better once ESPN and
yeah,
Rivals have rankings too.
and once he
Whereas,
plays a senior season,
yes,
it also impacts the fact that he's going to play a senior season as a K State commit as opposed to somebody that isn't committed or whatever. And we know that if people were worried about it, it seems like the K State bump is starting to become a real thing. So
yeah, that is true. And
keep an eye on that.
the other thing, like he was 6A Division II in Texas State Offensive Player of the Year. Like you don't get that award by accident. And he plays for a loaded high school, a really good program. Like I expect him to have an even better senior season. Kind of doing a little bit of talking about Tedeki to other people involved in recruitments just around the country. The thing that I think kind of scared some schools off wasn't just that he's left-handed, but he's not the most mobile quarterback of all time either. Like he can go and get yards on a scramble when he really needs to. Like there's a play on his junior tape where it's a 3rd and 21 late in the game, and he runs for 22 yards. So he's not the most mobile, but he is mobile to a certain extent and is also left-handed. And I think that kind of scared a lot of people off in the coaching realm.
Well, lefties. What are you going to do? They're a little odd. Hey, do you remember our left-handed stat though?
Which one?
That being left-handed in the United States is like being a redhead in Ireland.
Oh, yes, that is true.
Comparable numbers. Also, an odd number of presidents have been left-handed relative to what the national average is. So Miles Teodecki, future president of the United States, possibly playing quarterback for K-State
Yep.
now. A
My
lot of things
family
to
has a
consider.
bunch of my family has a lot of lefties in it too.
So, any presidents yet?
No,
Okay.
sadly, no. Or
All right.
not sadly. I don't know. It kind of depends on who you are, I guess.
Yeah, well, it depends. Are Republican or Democrat, Drew? No, you don't have to answer that. That's true. That's how people decide that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a much more insane way to decide if I like a president or not. It has nothing to do with politics, but we won't get into that. Nobody cares. I do find it fascinating, though. I like to gobble up all the presidential like documentaries and stuff. They live fascinating lifestyles. We'll see if Miles Teodecki can live up to the fascinating life of a president. Although I don't know, I've been watching this show called The United States of Scandal. Being a politician does not seem like the avenue you want to go down. They seem to get their feet in some hot water occasionally. Uh, we've got a lot of different avenues with this show today. We'll be a lot more focused when we get back on track next week. Wednesday, we will get back to a regular schedule and just go daily from there. Have a bunch of stuff coming your way. What that will entail means we'll look over the Mount Rushmores that we're starting to do. The quarterbacks will have dropped by this point. That at least by that point, in terms of the written content, we'll go over that next week. And then very soon we will start going through the KSO Classic files and talking about some old games of K-State football. A lot of people remember in the early days of KSO when they did KSO Retro, they wanted it to come back. We'll do that in some way with the KSO Classic. If you
Yeah.
have not suggested a game yet, go to the message boards, throw it in the thread, and give your suggestion for what game you would like to see and hear us talk about. A lot of good ones in there. Seems like a couple of shoe-ins right now. Basically, two I can guarantee. 2003 Nebraska and 2009 KU for football seem to be like ones that we are for sure doing. And then from there, we'll have to kind of whittle down a list, put together a schedule of when we'll do those, and we'll have that all the way up until the start of the regular season for football.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's been involved in that thread. I was a little bit nervous about like posting or like seeing what that thread would do and what games would be posted. A lot of games on there that I'm like, huh, I haven't watched this, and like I'd like to watch it.
More basketball games, though. I've too many football games. We need more
Yeah,
basketball games. So if anybody's
yeah.
got basketball games, go to KSO, get signed up if you're not. But if you are already signed up, then you can go post in the thread about KSO Classic. We want
You said,
games to pick from.
you said not enough basketball games. I don't
There
think
are
there
none.
is
There are
enough
none. I was like,
games.
well, nobody wants to talk basketball in here.
Hey, throw a baseball game in if you want.
No, don't do that. I do not want to. I
Don't
don't
do
even
that.
like watching college baseball games live. I definitely do not want to watch one that happened years ago. That I've got zero interest in that. I will go to a college baseball game in person just fine. It's enjoyable. No, college baseball on TV, I would rather do negative things to myself than watch that. That's just it's a horrible product. I wrote about it yesterday in the question of the week, which was a shout out to some of you that I think need to just read some reality one time when you ask, why doesn't K-State have softball? Money, duh. That's why. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's essentially it. K-State will never have softball unless something wild happens, and they've never had softball because of money. But in that, I talked about, okay, the Women's College World Series, I understand why college softball has exploded. It's because the product on TV, it's a little bit more fast paced. It can be pretty exciting. Like, I think the smaller dimensions bring that into play. I think there's also an avenue where, not just in like baseball now, where I think you'd have to start to think, are the dimensions and the way that the game was made, like, should fences be taken back further because of the way guys can hit now and all this other stuff? Like, softball would be one where the caliber of athlete has shot up. Honestly, softball might be most comparable to like professional golf right now, where a lot of these courses just were not built for the distances that these players can hit. And you think about how hard the ball can be thrown now in softball, how they can hit the ball now. Like, maybe that's one of those things. But anyways, I think just the action and the snappiness of it is a lot more enjoyable than baseball is at the college level. If it's, I don't want to watch it. If it's below double A, I've got zero interest. I'm not watching it. It is not going to be very fun to take in, and certainly not on video. So yes, go to KSO, get signed up for On Three, and all that. And sorry to you that like college baseball. I mean, I love when K State's good at it. I love going to a Batcats game in person. Tough watch on TV. It's a bad product. Guys don't throw strikes. The games take 4 hours. They make the dumbest of mistakes. Brutal watch. Absolutely brutal watch. I cannot say it enough. It's such a bad product. I hate that I'm like that. I love baseball. College baseball doesn't do it for me. Hopefully the KSO show did it for everybody today. We'll be back in full on Wednesday. If anything crazy breaking news wise happens over the weekend, we've got you covered. But until then, head over to On3, look at K-StateOnline, and take in all the written content. A lot of recruiting stuff right now from Drew. Guys have been in for camps, for visits, for everything. Recruiting is in maybe one of its busier times of the year. So go check that out over at KSO right now. Get your first week for just $1 if you're not signed up yet. That'll do it for us today. Thanks for watching the KSO show.